Today, I have the immense pleasure of interviewing the great James Revell, Director of International Contact Centre at Air France KLM. Firstly, James, welcome and a big congrats on your recent promotion during these incredibly challenging times.
Thank you very much. Really nice to be here.
Brilliant. Now, I have known James for a number of years and I would like to share a little bit of a bio on him. Then the floor will be for James to tell us a little bit more about his career his journey so far. So James is a seasoned and extraordinarily successful business leader, so very well recognised in his proven record of accomplishment with delivering a first-rate customer service whilst leading a demanding contact centre for Air France KLM, so providing successful management in all areas of sales, quality, costing and employee engagement. Now, James has also made significant difference when overseeing all aspects of transformation programme within the UK and in Europe. He's received various awards during his career, which include the Best Service in Social Media, the ECCCSA, Silver Awards, Best Large Contact Centre with the ECCCSA as well, and Most Effective Home Working Programme from the UK NCCA. And he's also proud to be one of the head judges for UK NCCA this year. Wow, James, that's quite a bio, really. So welcome, and I am sure myself and our future social audience would love to hear more about how you got there. So let's find out more. I'll fire some questions at you.
Sure.
So, first of all, it's always nice to sort of kick off with travel destinations. I know obviously you're within that sector anyway, but what is your favourite travel destination and why is that so important to you, that certain destination?
Yeah, sure. Well, I've been fortunate enough, obviously, being in that sector to be able to go to some very nice places. I have a little bit of confession to make. Even though 20 years in aviation, I'm not really a big fan of flying. So, I think New Zealand is a destination I go back to quite a lot. France, obviously, I've got connections there, obviously. But I think particularly over the past couple of years, it's been a great opportunity to rediscover places in the UK. I think a lot of places in the UK also that I used to visit growing up, visiting with my grandparents and things like that. So lovely from a really nice places point of view, but also nostalgia as well. Just think, oh, yeah, I remember that from quite a few years ago. I won't say how many.
Only a few.
Yeah, just a few, absolutely.
And that's brilliant. And I think it's certainly the nostalgia bit of it is certainly probably a lot of people can relate to, and knowing what's on their doorstep and the beautiful sort of areas that we've got local to us, and sort of taking advantage and realigning ourselves with what we have here in front of us, really. So that's really good. And I'm a fan of the UK anyway. Some great destinations in here, though I'm not frightened of flying.
That's very good.
So looking about sort of you then, how would you describe yourself in a sentence or two?
Yeah, I suppose professionally, and I think this is something that probably at the early stages of my career I wouldn't have said, but now I really want to fully embrace it, is as a contact centre professional. And I think if you go out and maybe you're socialising with people, say, oh, what do you do? Then maybe probably 20 years ago I would have said sales or something like that, but now really fully embrace the fact that it's a contact center professional, and I'd like to try to champion the place and the importance of the contact centers within the business, because having worked there for such a long time, they really are, I think, at the heart of most businesses, and they should be. It really is the sharp end and such a dynamic place to work for. So I'm very proud of that. So I think contact centre professional is how I would describe myself.
Brilliant. And absolutely, yes, looking back in years gone by, I think people did sort of shy away from telling people that they used to work in a contact centre. It had a certain thought behind it, sort of thing, but now it's evolved so immensely. I think anybody that works in it should be very proud of what they achieve, because it's not an easy job to do no matter what level you're at. So I think everybody should be absolutely immense for what they've achieved in that. So looking at sort of the biggest opportunity you see right now in your sector or skill sets, what would that opportunity be?
Yeah, well, obviously the last year and a bit has been really difficult, I think, for every industry or everyone everywhere. It's been a huge upheaval, and obviously aviation's been no different, and contact centers no different. I think that what we've seen during that time, there's some of the positives is we've seen maybe a lot of innovation come out. I think with my involvement in the judging process for the European and the UK contact center awards, it's been absolutely great to see the very inspiring level of innovation that has happened within a very short period of space of time. It's been really good, and the fact that people have embraced that and really tried to offer the best from a customer service perspective. Saying that, I think that we have to build on that moving forward. I think that this crisis has exposed many of the strengths of organisations, but also some of the weaknesses. So it's a great opportunity to take stock, build on what the strengths were, but also ensure that really you're plugging the holes and the gaps that appeared and became exposed during the perhaps tumultuous experience and the ups and downs of the past year or so. I think particularly, I think it was the same in many industries, but with travel and tourism, there is an emotional engagement there anyway. Okay, it's whether it's an important business trip or it's the holiday of the year, people are emotionally invested in it. So I think the human engagement element is extremely important. And during a difficult time, people rush to the voice. The power of the voice becomes, I think, even more important than at other times. People want reassurance. They want a voice at the end of the phone that can give them the advice that they need for a particularly complicated and exceptional set of circumstances. Yeah. So we've actually seen customer satisfaction levels go up because they were pleased to have people that they could speak to at the end of the phone. Obviously, there was a place for automation in that as well, and that was extremely important. But for the more complex elements where there needed to be the voice there, it became more important than ever. So I think ensuring that we can build upon the things that came out as really positives and strengths within an organisation, making sure that we rectify any weaknesses that were exposed, and also ensuring, and not wanting to get too Mr. Miyagi about the whole thing, that we maintain a balance moving forward in terms of because the balance is extremely important. Obviously, times are going to be tight for many industries. Let's not pull back on that voice element there as well and push everything towards automation. Keep that balance there and ensure that we keep moving forward that, because I think regardless of how things evolve technologically, there will always be room for that very important engagement, which can be achieved, I think, even better through the voice, and in terms of getting that brand engagement I think everybody wants.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the voice of the customer is also such an imperative part. Yes, like you say, there's the place for automation. Automation is very important. And through research that we've listened to recently, what we're finding out is certain demographics of people are looking at voice as their first port of call. But then there's a younger demographic that's looking at it at their last point of call. And then in between, there's some form of automation that's going on. So, the voice and the evolution of the voice contact center is absolutely imperative still. People still want to speak to a human and know that they can empathise and help sort out whatever issues or concerns that they've got and take them through the journey. So, yeah, absolutely. And it's always nice to hear that, because that's always got to be a favourite. It's always got to be up there, hasn't it? So looking at sort of, pieces of advice then, what's one piece of advice that you would give to anyone that's wanting to progress their career into your specialism?
Okay, so I think if we break that down maybe into to contact center operations, which I think was really the heart of what I did through the most of my career. I think obviously you have to have a plan, your strategy, but I think what I've learned is you've got to be ready to disregard that plan and to improvise. And I think over the past year it kind of exemplifies that. And I've seen it quite a lot through aviation. So with 9/11, the financial crisis, even the Icelandic volcano that erupted in 2010. Don't ask me to pronounce it. I couldn't do that. But and with what happened last year, you have to be able to adapt. The organisation needs to be flexible. It needs to be adaptable. Anything that's based on a rigid and dogmatic adhesion to a particular strategy, I think ultimately you can't do that. You need to steer it off course. And I think actually, where we can talk about the negatives of all of those particular examples, but there are a lot of positives in that, because that improvisation during those difficult circumstances led to a lot of great innovations that are still in place today. Obviously, you can't continue throughout your whole career like that, because you're going to have crisis burnout. But I think at various particular points in time, it's extremely important just to steer a different path to the one that you've been doggedly and faithfully pursuing for a long time. Yeah,
absolutely. I totally agree with that. So I think looking at your biggest career break then, and who do you have to sort of thank for that, or who inspired you for that sort of career break that you got?
Yeah, well, I think I have to make a confession at this point, because when I, like so many people, because you can make a career in the contact centres, and I started 20 odd years ago now on the phones, as it was known then, and it was never it was a stepping stone, and I, with my naivety and youthful arrogance, said, right, I'm going to get out of here pretty soon. I'm going to get a job in sales, marketing. And I did after 9 months, but although I've got very fond memories of that time, it was not for me. It wasn't particularly professionally satisfying. So there was an opportunity in the contact center to go back as an operations manager, and my former line manager, and would have been eventually my future line manager, we spoke, and he spoke so passionately on the subject of what it was like within the contact center and having no. So I said, "Oh, you're going to love it. It's really going to suit your particular skill set." He sold it so well, and it was always a bit of a salesman, so you had to take something for the pinch of salt with him. But this never ever been a truer word spoken, and I think I'd thank him for that, because it set me on a course where I think I find myself professionally being extremely satisfied in terms of what it's extremely rewarding, and it's given me the opportunity to work within such a fun and dynamic environment. Unfortunately, I'm working at home in a conservatory at the moment, which is very nice, but not dynamic and particularly fun. So looking forward to getting back into that to that environment at some point to sharing that. So I think him, he has been that's to say a great. I have to be very thankful for him.
Yeah, I think we all have one or two people within our careers that really inspire us, and whether it's through their sort of sales technique, their passion or involvement, that sort of push us into trying something and push us out of our own comfort zone. So I think, that's always a great thing, isn't it? And likewise, we've probably done the same to other people as well.
Yeah, hope so.
Right. Yeah. So looking about sort of talking about the inspiring side of it then, what really inspires you and why?
So I think it would be probably tagging on to that, actually segueing into this. It's I think people who have genuinely and can communicate it, a true passion for something, whether it be professional or personal. I think people say, "Oh, I'm passionate about this and I'm passionate about that." I think it's quite overused increasingly, and people can say it quite glibly. "Oh, I'm passionate about something." However, I think you can really tell when someone's speaking about something and they're truly passionate about it, it comes across. They can communicate it. You can see it. You can hear it. You can feel it. It's very tangible, and it creates a strong positive energy. And I think with that, they can achieve so much in that particular domain. Rightly or wrongly, it's always a question I like to ask during we're ever recruiting on a panel. Do like to ask that question, because I think you really do get a window into someone at that particular, and it can take an interview into some really interesting directions. And I think you can really understand a person. I think ultimately within an interview scenario, that's exactly you want to try to get the best picture, kind of a 360-degree picture of a person. And I think that can be quite illuminating, because you can see it at any point. And I think even if it's something that I'm not interested in at all, it can be quite inspiring. And I think I've seen that many times within the contact center environment. Going back to the awards during the judging section, you can see the ones that I think ultimately are successful are the ones that just got such a fire and a passion and a commitment towards customer service and their organisation. You know, you could cut them down the middle and they've got the name of their company written all the way down. So that really, I think, for me, does put a smile on my face, and it does inspire me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think ultimately it's keeping it all real, isn't it? And I'm a great believer in that. You know, just seeing somebody, how they naturally come out and promote themselves, the business, what drives them. That's what makes it all real, and that's what sort of gets shared down the line when they're speaking to other people, and they sort of just relish in it, really, don't they? So, well, James, it certainly sounds like you've been on a journey over the last 20 odd years. And I always find it really interesting and I've had these conversations with friends and colleagues as well, to find out, when we ask ourselves when we started our career, if we thought we'd be where we are. You've certainly found your calling. And again, a big congrats on your promotion. And thank you for sharing your journey and experience and advice with us today. And I really hope it helps people moving forward.
That's great. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, Kerry.
Thank you.